We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. Get ready. Aliens, chimeras, the metaverse. Those are going to be the main topics of today because every time I go over to YouTube, and I listen to YouTube more than I watch it, kind of in the background when I'm doing thumbnails. And generally, it is tech stuff or gaming review stuff or physically modding, hacking stuff. Not like the type of hacks that they want to... Russia! Not that type of stuff. Like, how can I mod my Xbox? That type of stuff in the background. I find that stuff fun and soothing, and I like taking things apart and putting them back together again. I know I'm a weirdo. But I've noticed, especially recently, that every time I go to YouTube, every single time, one, the algorithm constantly suggests the same videos I don't click on for sometimes weeks at a time that have millions of views that I have no interest in whatsoever. But they have some like kind of a clickbait thumbnail. Like there's this girl and she's telling you, what's going on with you and flirting with girls, and it's got like a little side boob action or inside breast thing, so people click on it, right? And then this other guy, he's pointing at something. It's just absurd. But the thing that I've been seeing recently, again and again and again, is a live stream, and this is a big, you're a sucker for it, but they replay the recent UFO hearings kind of in a loop, or they start them and they put live on it, and then they just restream them as if they're live. So a bunch of people tune in for the first time because they want to be a part of it, whereas maybe they wouldn't have clicked otherwise. And when I see how many people are watching these things, I think to myself, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Sometimes I really do forget how piercing the UFO/alien agenda narrative has been in our global society over the last, probably century now, right? I mean, as far as pop culture goes, I know we're talking World War II and it was normalized, but before that, I mean, space was the thing. The radio shows were talking about it, right? It was all about that stuff. Buck Rogers. And not only that, but it was incorporated with robots. Just think about that for a second. So I really thought to myself, what we're going to do today, after we go over an initial story that I think is extremely important, especially in the post-truth world and the unreality we all live in, is we're going to play the opening statements of the three of these whistleblowers, okay? And look, one of them seems to have, actually two out of the three, they seem to have at least firsthand eyewitness accounts of certain technologies. Now, whether or not that technology is off-world or not part of a classified program, I don't think any of these guys are high enough up the ladder to actually make that call. But it's alien. And the one guy is the dude that you saw extremely emotional, talking about how, people have been killed for this. And from what I saw, we're gonna play one part where one of them gets questions. It's all Johnny nonsense drivel drama. There's no substance there other than to hype you up and get you ready for their disclosure. And then that kind of brings me to the chimera aspect of this, and I've constantly said this. They could roll out physical entities that would be quote-unquote alien because we genetically engineer them, and they will believe whatever is fed to them. We've also had a mind control program. So I'm going to play quite a few clips on hybrid species and chimeras, because that's a reality also. And I'm just not here to buy any of their bullshit. They act like these things don't exist and they don't know how it's happening. They're weapon systems. And, the obvious weapon that we've seen them utilize is psychological warfare against the friggin' global populace. Okay? So that's and when we're also going to be subjugated to this virtual reality, okay, this digital metaverse, people are not going to be able, they're going to disassociate everything. People already live in a dream state a lot of the time. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. They literally live in a dream state where they're constantly either thinking about the personal relationships in their lives themselves, socially, and how they're going to get ahead on social media or project a certain image. They're career driven doing that. And then they're thinking about the entertainment aspect of their life. The TV shows they watch, the movies they want to watch, they can discuss with everybody. Okay, and even me, the sports. And I'm not saying any of those things are necessarily bad. You need a time off. But they're encompassed with it. And one of the things people have been encompassed with and are fascinated by is this idea of aliens. Okay? So, beginning in the next segment, we're going to start watching these guys and their opening testimony. Okay? Because listen, I'm not sure about the one guy. I mean, all three of them might believe 100% on what they're saying. The emotional guy seems like a wreck. But they could also be conveying disinformation unwittingly. They're well-meaning. They're a mark. That technique has been used. The whisper campaigns have been utilized since time began. It's not even like an intelligence agency thing. Useful disinformation through whisper campaigns has been around a very, very long time. Point it out. Okay. So, quickly shifting gears in the Unreality. Had to go over this story. Okay. Project Veritas, who parted ways with James O'Keefe, put together this video. We're not going to watch it. I watched the whole thing yesterday. The reason we're not going to watch it is you can watch it on your own. It just already confirms everything that we've known since before the 2020 election. I believe this story goes all the way back to, let's see, it says it right there, 0903, so September of 2020, okay, prior to the election. So why is this story important? Well, this is the the Ashley Biden diary. And it's weird that they have their Veritas reporter looks a lot like Ashley Biden. I don't know if they did that on purpose and they utilized her. Who knows? But I can tell you this. We've known that was real. Veritas did not publish it. And that's the problem with Veritas. They get all this money and they become an organization and then they've got a board, right? And that's why I like that O'Keefe does his own thing. He's a driven individual, love him, hate him, gets things done. but at the same time, didn't put this out there. They didn't put the diary out there. You know, say what you want about other media organizations, but it was National File that had the cojones to put out what was a very scathing diary that they knew to be Ashley Biden's 100%. Veritas didn't want to be involved. Okay. Now, Veritas at the same time, in that piece, why it's important is they get Ashley Biden on the phone to confirm that all of that stuff is hers. There's more than that. There's pills, there's suitcases. And that's the other thing. People don't get it. You know, why would she write these things down? It's a cry for help. She wants to get caught, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's part of it, but you're also probably taking all sorts of psychotropic drugs. So things are like spilling out, all these things, and she's writing them down. You have to understand, most of these mind control drugs, and that's what they are. They're not helping you. They were literally developed during that era with the pharmaceutical companies under MK Ultra and the universities, these SSRIs. Like, get with it. So she's writing all this stuff down. And we've known about the inappropriate showers comment for since before the election. No mainstream media wanted to touch it. At all. Meanwhile, you got Sniffy McGee, and then let's go on top of that, because we're in the post-truth world, and we have been for a while. I discussed it yesterday. Hunter Biden's laptop is already in their possession, amongst other hard drives, allegedly. That's also reported. Let's get that out of the way. I think it's up to 8. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm just saying what was in the press. So they've got all this information on him, which includes his contacts, which they already, the Central Intelligence Agency, all these people, they know what it is. Especially like the Secret Service hanging out. You don't think when his dad calls, they've peeked over and it comes up in his contacts as pedo Peter. That's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. So to this day, even after yesterday's report, we'll see if they've updated it. I don't think they have. But in December 2022, Snopes has to do a fact check. Fact check-ins. This is December 7th, 2022. I don't think it has been updated yet. They just say unproven. It's from a dubious website. Hey, they take things out of context. Allegedly. There's no way to verify. We can't confirm it. Just like they couldn't confirm the information on Hunter's laptop. All lies. I mean, all this stuff was immediately confirmable. Hey, who knows what it's still up there. Well, this one, we're undecided. There's no provable evidence. It can't, it literally says it right under here, the sentence. The alleged diary of the president's daughter has not been authenticated. Well, we haven't given the go to tell you it's real. That's the unreality. And they're prepping, they're not prepping us for it anymore. They're barraging us with it to make you want to go into a virtual metaverse and embrace that and have your endorphins come from that. That's the plan, Stan. You get it? Those are the facts, Jack. As Joe Biden may have said when he was still a conscious human being. And he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. His son's a bad guy. I know nothing about Ashley. But if anything in that diary regarding those showers, okay, on top of other things that are alleged, okay, if any of that's true, what can you say? Like, how did you think they would turn out? Think about this. On top of everything Hunter's done, he also got with his brother's ex-wife on top of it. And then there's all sorts of allegations regarding the niece. I'm gonna leave it right there. Okay? Not great. Not great. So I'm glad Project Veritas put this out. All old information being reconfirmed. Just like what's going on with Devin Archer and, Hunter Sauce and all that stuff. So when we come back, we're going to start getting into the aliens. I know everybody wants aliens. Aliens, UAPs, Johnny Nonsense, and more after a word from our sponsor.
Attention Americans, breaking news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. Take action now. The Federal Reserve phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard. Your hard-earned assets are in jeopardy. But there's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Reach out to American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Visit protectfrombiden.com. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Be smart. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Visit protectfrombiden.com to get your free guide and get started. Again, that's protectfrombiden.com.
All right, we are back. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Remember, you can watch the second hour for free over at rvmrumble.com, rvmrumble.com. I'm going to make a quick plea with you. I've lost almost 300 subscribers, maybe more, in the past couple months over at YouTube. Let people know about the YouTube. We're trying to bring people in from the cat videos. Obviously, not getting a lot of play. The numbers are big time down, even though the likes aren't down. The ratio of that stuff isn't down. Just weird that it's suppressed in there. And I've lost probably about 100 followers over on Twitter recently. Now, I paid for the blue check mark. I put videos up. It's weird. I do more content. And generally when you do more content, especially when you achieve like the rating success that I do and the attention length, you gain people on social media. It's not the case here. So at Jason Bermas, you can find me across any other platform as well. And on top of that, rvmrumble.com for the second hour. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. You want to support the broadcast. Check out the latest and greatest interviews with Pat Miletich, Allison Morrow, Terry Newsom, and more. Please go do that. It helps support the broadcast. I want to thank those that signed up yesterday. We had several. Everybody counts, guys. Everybody counts. You get a few a day. That's a big deal. I'm not Ben Shapiro. I'm not talking Johnny. Now, all these guys, by the way, mainline, are now just hook, line, and sinker on this UFO thing. That reminds me. One thing before we go. When I get something wrong, I admit it. I should have just started the program with this. And look, I hate being wrong. It digs at me. But I'm a human being. And I'm not going to get everything right. And sometimes I'm not Nostrafrickendamus. And this is a nice, humbling reminder that sometimes I'm wrong. Annie Jacobson's new book will not be on transhumanism. It is Nuclear War, a Scenario. I'm not sure how I feel about it. But it is that this is what it's about. I'm dumbfounded. But again, I don't get everything right. Still love Miss Jacobson's work. Looking forward to it. Probably going to be highlighting. Let's hope this isn't some dark premonition, because we have been talking a lot about nuclear war lately. And that's another thing. Nuclear fission reactors as power sources for military vehicles have been utilized now for decades publicly. Nuclear submarines, when Trump talks about how much like plutonium or uranium that they're utilizing to power a sub for, years on end. That's old technology. So if you don't think that's absolutely been utilized in secret aircraft, when guys like Dennis Bushnell, who we play here, have patents on these reactors, okay, if you don't think they're utilizing them on vehicles that are airborne, come on. Now, whether or not they're able to produce them in mass, that's another question. What materials they're made of, et cetera, they may not be able to. It's just like with this very real nanosat revolution. Technology has been there for a very long time. It was through the mass production of cell phone chips that they were able to really put it into gear to begin commercializing it and getting it out into the public. That's how they do it. So I'm going to start with, I think David Grush is the emotional guy that came out and started to meet people have been murdered. Now look, again, black operations, spy games, weapon systems, classified technologies, yes, people get murdered. But again, show me the money, and show me the evidence of this extraterrestrial civilization. And my fear is eventually that evidence will come in biological form, but the biological form will be something that we have created. So here's Grush.
Mr. Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time. My name is David Charles Grush. I was an intelligence officer for 14 years, both in the U.S. Air Force, both active duty, Air National Guard, and Reserve, at the rank of major, and most recently from 2021 to 2023.
I mean, like I said, kind of a mess. Seems a little manic. That's all I'm saying. Now, and there's Corbell, and there's George Knapp. So Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are there. And look, I think Knapp's done some good work. Again, I think that they're all falling for this alien thing, hook, line, and sinker, because they want to believe. It's a magical belief. And I'm not a disbeliever. I want to make that extremely clear, that there's not a possibility. I'm not saying we're the only thing out there. Okay, I'm not saying that things might not be discovered. But the game they're playing is one of their narrative, command, control, utilize it as some kind of a military threat and maybe even a global threat to consolidate power. That's what I see. And I'm sorry, this guy comes off as a huge chucklehead.
At the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA, at the GS-15 civilian level, which is the military equivalent of a full bird colonel. I was my agency's co-lead in unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP task force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. I became a whistleblower through a PPD-19 urgent concern filing in May 2022 with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Following concerning reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight with regards to UAPs. My testimony is based on information I've been given by individuals with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country.
Stop it there. Okay, so none of his stuff is firsthand, period. And that's the kind of whisper campaign. This guy, in my opinion, unfortunately, is a dupe and a useful idiot. And look, I don't know him personally. Maybe he's a really smart guy. But, I often talk about how people are extremely unimpressive today. And look, everybody's not a public speaker. Everybody's not a talk show host. I get that. But this guy's reading off a piece of paper. He sounds super manic. I've seen the interview with him before. He sounds super manic there. Where's the firsthand knowledge of any of this? Where's the technical knowledge? Like, this guy's not somebody who's working with molecular biology or physics and propulsion systems, weapon systems in particular. This guy doesn't have a real clearance. We talk about Q, and that Johnny nonsense. Well, Q clearance is real. This guy doesn't have a Q clearance. Come on. And by the way, Q clearance, is that the highest up at this point? By the way, that's something Jacobson also writes about and talks about. Who knows? But, we're a minute 30 in this guy's opening statement. He's given you nothing. He's given you nothing. And that's what this whole thing was. It's like, we're doing something. No, you're propping up a narrative. I had the AOC clip I watched. It got just gross. And they're all acting like these guys, oh boy, for coming forward, there's going to be big repercussions. Are you scared? Ooh. They ain't want no whistleblowers on 9/11 coming forward. Still waiting on that day. Those people are still alive. And it's not like some bullshit whisper campaign. Just pointing that out. Sorry. We're going to keep going. This is Reality Rants. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share.
Many of whom also have shared compelling evidence in the form of photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony to myself and my various colleagues. I have taken every step I can to corroborate this evidence over a period of 4 years while I was with the UAP Task Force and do my due diligence on the individual sharing it. This is because of these steps, I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you. I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people. I'm asking Congress to hold our government to this standard and thoroughly investigate these claims. But as I stand here under oath now, I am speaking to the facts as I've been told them. In the U.S. Air Force, in my National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, reservist capacity, I was a member of the UAP Task Force from 2019 to 2021. I served at the NRO Operations Center on the Director's Briefing staff, which included the coordination of the Presidential Daily Brief and supporting variety of contingency operations, which I was the Reserve Intelligence Division Chief backup. In 2019, the UAP Task Force Director asked me to identify all special access programs and controlled access programs, also known as SAPs and CAPs, we needed to satisfy our congressionally mandated mission, and we were direct report at the time to the DepSecDef.
And that's where it gets tricky.
At the time, due to my extensive executive level...
And by the way, and that's where it gets tricky, because they're not giving him any kind of real access to either one of those programs. This guy's a reservist. And that's not to knock reservists. I'm just saying, this isn't even like a day-to-day military guy. Does this guy, and he's part of the UAP task with Elizondo. Come on. Can we grow up a little bit? What has this guy... I've done my due diligence. These people have served their country for a very long time. First of all, I'm not saying there aren't good whistleblowers out there, but everybody can be compromised. And when you're talking about the military-industrial complex and the intelligence community, forget about it. Forget about it. Like, those are the people that you want to have somewhat compromised. Or those are the people that openly do it because they're part of psychological warfare programs, whisper campaigns.
Intelligence support duties, I was cleared to literally all relevant compartments and in a position of extreme trust, both in my military and civilian capacities. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it. I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
And I mean, this is a long, and everybody's like so quick, and they're really acting like they're doing it big. Look, we're about to take another break. I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Remember, second hour, uncensored, over at rvmrumble.com. When we come back, we've got David Fravor. Ryan Graves is the other one that we're going to play. We're only playing the opening statements because this is really where they're supposed to present the meat and potatoes of why they're there. And again, even if you saw a picture or a video or even were up against a life form, unless that life form is something that you are even like qualified to be able to dissect or look at biologically and determine, run tests on that it didn't originate here, that's an issue for me. It should be an issue for everybody. And that's the chimeric aspect of this. And things are only getting weirder. I promise you. And in 2024 is around the corner. All right. Another word from our sponsor, and then we will be on our way back playing more of these opening statements.
When I invented MyPillow, my passion was to help each and every one of you. And 20 years later, all of your support is what keeps us going. Because of you, we've been able to create thousands of USA jobs and help millions get the best sleep ever. To thank you, my employees and I are bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with my patented adjustable fill, the most amazing cotton, and a 2-inch pipe gusset. It has 4 custom loft levels, machine washable and dryable, and you get my 60-day money-back guarantee and 10-year warranty.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, get a queen size MyPillow for only $19.98.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
There he is, Mike Lindell, Coup-Master. It's funny. We're going to get to these videos in a second, but I have all these people in the comments section that come after me for the transhuman/transgender issue. That's easily documented. Right? Everything I document in that just short video is 100% reality, and it's a tax sauce. So then, on the other end of that crazy, in my opinion, I tell everybody, if you watched yesterday, and they cut it up at RVM, thank you, RVM, that the white hats are not in control, okay? And I mean, again, just what we opened up with, that story. It should let you know no one's really going to jail. No one's getting in trouble. They know about these people. They're compromised. There are good people in the FBI and the CIA at the lower levels. But at the upper levels, it's pyramid down, top down, command control, period. And boy, do I get the white hats are in control. All these other people that are just super delusional that are like part of a ghost in the machine. You do the takedown quietly, carefully. Wait, are you being quiet and careful on social media? No, you're not. I'm not. I'm loud. We need more people to be loud. That's not how you do it. We're not part of spycraft, buddy. Hate to tell you, and by the way, we shouldn't be. I get their methodologies of misinformation, disinformation, whisper campaigns. But if you want to be 100% real, and forget about just taking the gloves off, all that other, I hear, we're taking the gloves off. You know how you take the gloves off from day one? You tell the truth. And then when you get things wrong, like I have today, right? Like when we admit, got it wrong, you say, you know what? I got it wrong. And you move forward. You try to be the best person you absolutely 100% can be. That's the real power. Call me kooky. That's what I find empowering. Lies don't make friends. Okay, I get it. There are gray areas, exceptions, etc. Where has this gotten us when we talk about technology, warfare? I mean, her book's about a possible nuclear war scenario that right now we've never been closer to, in my opinion, and at least in my lifetime, in real time. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but I don't like the fact that drones are popping off in Moscow that are more than likely utilizing the Starlink systems that ourselves and the Muskernuts put into place. Dangerous times. But this isn't about weaponizing space, right? And getting a huge budget for that and introducing Space Force as their Artemis bullshit is about to go out. I watched that NASA channel. They're hyping it, boy. Oh, yeah, the new crew. The first Artemis mission, they're not landing, by the way. They're going around the moon. That's what they're going to do. That I can't wait to see what they try to pull off there. Who knows? Maybe rocket technology gets to the moon because they've lied to us about how far away it is. But I constantly hear about these Van Allen belts from NASA itself. And no one else has seemed to master this rocket technology to go to the moon, except for us. It just all seems extremely bizarre to me. But, it's not about, actual DEWs, directed energy weapons in space. It's not about killer satellites. It's not about propulsion technology. No. Rods of God. It's not about that stuff. Or is it? I mean, are we ever going to grow up? No, we're going to talk about aliens. Okay. All right, so let's go to Fravor. He's next.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Congressmen, Congresswomen. I want to first thank you for the invitation to speak to the committee on the UAP topic that's been in the news for the past 6 years and seems to be continuing to gain momentum. As you know, my name is David Fravor. I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world-famous Black Aces. We were attached to Carrier Wing 11, stationed on board the USS Nimitz, and had begun a 2-month workup cycle off the coast of California. On this day, we were scheduled for a 2v2 air-to-air training with the USS Princeton as our control. When we launched off Nimitz, my wingman was joining up. We were told that the training was going to be suspended and we were going to proceed with real-world tasking. As we proceeded to the west, the air controller was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller had told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
See, I do realize that. And so far, what I'm hearing is, all right, they're saying that. That's very possible. But how do we know this isn't classified testing? I'm just saying, and the Tic Tac stuff, these videos have been out forever. They made heroes of the New York Times that literally are pumping out Paul Krugman, Bidenomics. It's the best. Like the New York Times, this is it. Goldilocks and the Bidenomics Bears. And this is literally a love letter to Joe Biden. And I mean, it's hard to overstate how good the U.S. economics news has been lately. This is not sarcastic. This is what Krugman is literally saying. Goldilocks, it's a fairy tale. But they're the heroes. And look, this guy, I believe his story. I don't think he's part of anything. But again, nothing he saw says alien to me. Not a thing. Whether he thinks that or not, because he's never experienced it, and I get that. Nothing.
We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves. So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All 4 of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down a saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the tic-tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the tic-tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the tic-tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingman, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute." You can calculate the speed. We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're...
So again, this sounds, every time you hear about this shutting off system, shutting off radar systems, doesn't that sound like a weapon system? And yet, there's no attack. They're not going actually against the military. It's a test against their current military stuff. It seems so obvious to me. And I get it. 1 minute, 60 miles, it doesn't seem possible. But if you just look at quantum mechanics, like if that's some type of a UAV, and I'm not talking about the ones with the propellers and the copters. Those you could utilize in numerous ways. There was a recent Spider-Man movie, the one with Mysterio, right? That actually showed you what a group of drones with holographic technology could mean. And honestly, I think that that's more of a danger. But then you would have other types of drones that maybe take advantage of quantum mechanics. And you notice they talk about these things having no rotors, wingspans. This is a tic-tac shaped thing. So somehow, some way, you've got something that has a propulsion system, anti-gravity, and it can almost appear and reappear, almost like the zeros and ones of a quantum computer, and be both at the same time, almost immediately. Again, I'm not that smart. And I'm not in these special access programs. But everything about this continually screams to me, we're testing our stuff against the old stuff and seeing how our military could react in real time. Especially because our stuff could be their stuff, in the idea that China, Russia, other first world nations, whether it be in Europe or Israel, possibly Saudi Arabia, India's got a pretty good program, eventually could get this technology, because I believe a lot of it is several decades old. Bare minimum several decades old. Let's continue.
Interested. What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken. And after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. It wasn't until 2009 until Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an unofficial official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted, and I said no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and we talked for a short period of time, and he said we'd be in contact. A few weeks after that, I was made aware that Lou had left the Pentagon in protest and joined forces with Tom DeLonge, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice, and others to form Two Stars Academy, an organization that pressed the issue with leading industry experts and U.S. government officials. They worked with Leslie Kean, who is present today, Ralph Blumenthal, and Helene Cooper to publish the articles in the New York Times 2017 New York Times. And it removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today.
Again, this stigma that was there has been gone for a long time. And through pop culture, I think we've been prepared by this. I'd say one of the biggest things would obviously be the ancient aliens.
Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed. It has led to an interest from our elected officials who are not focused on little green men, but figuring out where these craft are, where they're from, the technology they possess, how do they operate. It also led to the Whistleblower Protection Act and the NDAA. There are multiple witnesses coming forward to say that have firsthand knowledge, and Mr. Grush just covered that. What concerns me is that there's no oversight from our elected officials on anything associated with our government processing or working on craft. Believe not from this world. This issue is not a full public disclosure that could undermine national security, but it is about ensuring that our system of checks and balances works across all work done in the government using taxpayer funds.
Yeah, because this is where they're concerned about the checks and balances. We don't have checks and balances anymore in our voting systems. We have proprietary software, machines, joke audits. We have legalese. All right, we have programs that are called born classified. And then you have like literally them changing the language on, UFOs, unidentified flying objects, to now they're UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. I mean, first of all, some of these things, I'm going to let them finish up. We're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. It's going to be the last segment of the first hour. RVMRumble.com is where you can see the second hour uncensored.
Relative to government programs, even unacknowledged wave programs have some level of oversight by the appropriate committee members in the House and Senate, and this work that is said to be occurring from whistleblower testimonies should not be exempt. In closing, I would like to say that the Tic Tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We interrupt today's programming to bring unfortunate news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. So take action now. The Federal Reserve's phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard and put your hard-earned assets in jeopardy. But here's the good news. There's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Speak to someone at American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Dial 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Call 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. Act swiftly, 833-287-2465.
We are back. It's the final segment of the first hour. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. This first hour, we haven't gotten much into the Chimeras or the Metaverse. A lot of that's going to come in the second hour, unfortunately. I got this TED Talk. Actually, it's not a TED Talk. I do have a TED Talk. So there's a TED Talk basically on the Metaverse. It's from this week. It's brand new. Most people haven't seen it. And where this person thinks it's going. It's not going in a great place, by the way. We have Business Insider that did a piece on the Metaverse just recently. Most people think the Metaverse is dead. Far from it. And even if they rename it, rebrand it, this is where everything's moving, this virtual world. And then I have a conversation about hybrid humans from somebody who was working in tech, had a payment platform, sold it to PayPal, all these big companies. They buy up. All that's going to come up in the second hour. We'll see how much we can get through. That's how we work. Digital humans, another avatar, kind of a linking. That, we're going to show you a little bit of that as well. Again, we'll see what we can get to in the second hour. Because we hit so many different things on this show. And look, every once in a while, obviously there's some overlap with what you're going to hear in either the mainstream or the alternative. But we're really hammering home the agenda. And right now, the agenda they're pushing is aliens are coming. We're going to disclose the aliens. And again, I did this little thumbnail. It's AI. It's with prompts. But I out of everything that I got out of this one, I really liked the yellow Aztecian kind of alien. I didn't put yellow or Aztecian. It was like transhumanist, frog, alien. I'm not even sure if I had robot in there. But came up with that thing, and I'm like, yeah, they could totally roll something that looked like freaky like this out in like the Aztec garb, and people would be like, I knew it, ancient aliens. And then it could probably communicate with its mind, especially if we're all hyped up. And that's the other thing. Mind communication, human brain interfaces, they don't have to be internalized. We've demonstrated that on the show, and yet they want them to be internalized. Like, God to skull technology is real. What do you mean God to skull? In other words, people think that they're talking to God or an alien or whatever, communicating. No, like there's literal tech where they can torture people with that. Forget about a whisper campaign. Hey, I know it sounds like science fiction. Like, let's see if we can bring that up really quick. We got so much to go over. God to skull tech. The voice of God weapon returns. Wired. That's 2007. Like a device that projects voices into your head to make you think God is speaking to you. But no, that's crazy. You're crazy talk. You know, we watched that clip from 5-6 years ago where the guy wears the headpiece and he just thinks about things and he can bring up the prompt from the question he was asked. But no, voice of God, the voice of God weapon returns. 2007. It's almost, it's 16 years ago, almost. 16 years ago that article getting written, just popping it in there. All right, let's get to Ryan Graves and his opening statement. And then we are going to play, I do have one more clip from this thing, but it's it's like cartoonish. The guy starts talking about his anniversary. It's like, and being a boomer, being called a boomer by his daughter and all these other, it's a big fun game to these people.
Thank you. Chairman Grothman, Ranking Member Garcia, distinguished members of the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security, Representatives Burchett and Luna. My name is Ryan Fobbs Graves, and I'm a former F-18 pilot with a decade of service in the U.S. Navy, including 2 deployments in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve. I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight 3 critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena.
How frequently? And if it is frequent, wouldn't that lay more credence to the fact that not only are these things in beta test, but they're being utilized, again, in special access programs, and they have a purpose. And the purpose isn't just to test themselves against our own military and current technologies. Just a thought. Just a thought.
The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses. It is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers. And I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors, but soon we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base.
So let's stop it here. 5 to 15 feet in diameter. All right, so that's like, my arm length's out. You get like the 5 feet, and then 15, maybe the room. Maybe the room. It's not huge. All right, it's not small. But once again, and it's a cube inside a sphere. Cube inside a sphere. The question I'll have again, is that some type of UAV that is also maybe projecting a holographic image? Or is that some type of a UAV that is also acting as some type of an advanced satellite system? I don't know. It doesn't scream quote-unquote alien to me at all. But And it's off the coast. So many of things are off the coast. And then we'll also talk about things that are underwater. Multi-purpose vehicles. Oh, our military would never work on anything like that.
Our squadron submitted a safety report, but there was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. Recognizing the need for action and answers, I founded Americans for Safe Aerospace. The organization has since become a haven for UAP witnesses who were previously unspoken due to the absence of a safe intake process. More than 30 witnesses have come forward, and almost 5,000 Americans have joined us in the fight for transparency at safeaerospace.org. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Often, they are veterans with decades of flying experience. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks.
What here is new? Seriously. I've been studying this subject since I was literally a kid. Like 10 years old when I saw the first pictures of UFOs. And from NASA footage that's out there where you can clearly see these things take the right-hand turns or stop on a dime or cover an insurmountable amount of space in almost no time. It's all been known. It's all been discussed. This is like repetition 101. I'm hearing the same exact thing again and again and again. So again, this also speaks to nothing new, just like we talked about with none of this is new. This is like pre-programming. Let's get the thumbs up, not even 100 thumbs up through the first hour, guys. We're almost done with the first hour. You're going to have to come over to rvmrumble.com for that second hour. Going to want to do it.
Sometimes these reports are reoccurring, with numerous recent sightings north of Hawaii and in the North Atlantic. Other veterans are also coming forward to us regarding UAP encounters in our airspace and oceans. The most compelling involve observations of UAP by multiple witnesses and sensor systems. I believe these accounts are only scratching the surface, and more will share their experiences once it is safe to do so.
You know who's also on the floor of parts of the ocean openly? That would be NASA. Just point that out. NASA with a bunch of black programs and special access programs and joint programs with our national security apparatus. That NASA.
In closing, I recognize the skepticism surrounding this topic. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change. I urge us to put aside stigma and address the security and safety issue this topic represents. If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science. In either case, unidentified objects are concerned for flight safety. The American people deserve to know what is happening in our skies. It is long overdue.
You know, at least this guy didn't go full alien, right? That's probably, and the other guy really didn't either. But he obviously alludes to it. He just can't imagine it. I like the guy talking about possibility of foreign drones. So, to me, that's really where we're at, right? So, we're about to take one last break. We're going to come back over rvmrumble.com, second hour. You want to support the broadcast, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. That's redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. And those are fun interviews that I get to do because you have kind of like an hour-long open conversation. You're not sure what the direction is going to be. You kind of have questions, etc., but you learn so much. Those are the type of conversations I like to have. Again, when we get things wrong, we admit it. And other people are much smarter than me. So I love other opinions. One commercial will come back for a second over to YouTube before we move it on over to rvmrumble.com. Until then, if you're going to use a VPN, IPVanish is probably
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you, Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IP Vanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IP Vanish.
All right, if you want to talk hybrid humans, chimeras, the metaverse, you're going to have to come on over to RVMRumble.com. If not, thumbs it up, subscribe, share. YouTube, you know, I can't quit you. I kind of still love you for all that you were in the Don't Be Evil days. But come on over to the other platforms